Outer Orange.
I just came back from Rosemont and I'm not sick. And guess what? We have results to look at. So let's go ahead and take a look at them right now. All right, fam, we're starting out with Spain today for standard. Bunch of love address. We've got some Raziel. Keep in mind, this is set 5 format, kind of continuing onward, but we are going to go into kind of the ban list format kind of coming up, but it's not, I would say standard stays about the same, and premium is where the one that starts kind of shifting a little bit. But anyway, Luard, Prison, Odium, Shernui, Dayusha, and Blagmire all got into the top 16 bracket. Going into top 8, we have 3 Levy, 2 Raziel, 1 Luard, 1 Shernui, 1 Blagmire, and then taking it all was Raziel. Very powerful deck. Luard getting second, third was Levadress, and fourth was Levadress as well. I will tell you right now, Luard's actually pretty good. I think it's a very good deck to pick up if you just want to stick to something you already know. Raziel still being also a powerhouse deck. I think either one is good, whichever way you want to go. If you want to go for my long-term, both are long game types of decks, meaning like they go into like the late game. So either one works out for you. And then Levadress, obviously still being Levadress, still a very powerful option as well for that. Next, we have Premium. They had the top 8 breakdown for there. So 3 Dumatama, 3 Mega Colony, 1 Neonectar, and 1 Genesis. I can actually start talking about these decks because I actually know what's going on again. I'm back in Premium Sauce land. So here we have first place with Nubatama, second place Neonectar, third place was Bugs, and fourth place was Nubatama again. All pretty popular and pretty good decks, none of which are just weird here. These are all choices that have been kind of happening for a while now. I would say Premium has kind of been samey for a bit, even though there are some small things you can add into the card pool of stuff. Next, we have the breakdown for Vancouver. So this is Vancouver, 4 Odium, 3 the bat deck, basically 3 Levadress, 3 Raziel, 2 Shernui, and 1 Shodoji. Shodoji is actually pretty decent, just has to dodge Levadress. I will say the match was pretty miserable for them. And the top 8 was 3 Raziel, 2 Levadress, 1 Odium, 1 bat, and 1 Shodoji. And then leading it all was again Raziel taking it all. I believe this one was streamed, by the way, so this was a pretty cool one to watch since you can actually see how these games were going. Second place was Levadress, third place was Levadress, and fourth place was Odium. Again, all powerhouse decks. I can't even say which one's better than the other. I made videos about these decks recently. I will say Odium I think is the weakest of the bunch, but that doesn't mean it's not a powerful deck. It's strong. It's just not as strong as I think Raziel and Levy are, which isn't saying much because the deck is kind of right below. It's not a huge margin of a difference. But congrats to everyone. I would say they're just pretty standard decks. We are going to take a look at some of the lists here, so stay tuned for that at the end. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe. It does help build the channel. Next, we have Vancouver Premium. So Nubatama had the 5, had going in strong as per usual. A lot of Link Joker on this one. Angel Feather Gize. This was a very interesting. This is also streamed. Angel Feather Gize match was actually pretty lit. We got 2 Bugs, 2 Nova Grappler, 1 Grand Blue, 1 Bermuda. Top 8, we had the split of Nubatama and then just one of each of the other ones. And then ending it all was actually Gize. Gize took it all with this one. And it was actually, the last match wasn't very fun to watch, but the match right before it was pretty cool. This match ended up being very one-sided because our Nubatama player got stuck on their grade 2 turn. They can never really ride up. So it's kind of like a little bit of a miserable game for these two right here. But overall, it was still really fun to watch. Like overall, aside from this last match. But yeah, we have first with Angel Feather Gize, Nubatama, Victor, and the Nubatama. I think Victor's pretty decent. My boyfriend plays a lot of Victor, so recently I've been playing into it a lot with some of the crest decks that have been coming out. So I've been seeing the matchup quite well. I think the board resist it has is actually really good. It's going first history collection turn is actually pretty aggressive. So I actually think this is kind of a slept on deck right now. I don't think it's that bad. Chili, so Chili has had a bunch of Odium and Levadress for this one. Raziel, Varga, and Alden, all pretty good options. I think Alden is okay. I think you need to be a little bit luckier for that deck in my opinion. All the other options are pretty good. Varga, surprisingly enough, hasn't been showing as many results over on the English side, even though I do think that deck's pretty powerful, but I guess something's just keeping it back. The winning for this one was Odium, Levadress, Odium. So a lot of Odium players, all 3 from the 8 converted it over to top pets. That's very good conversion rate there. And Odium is a very powerful deck. I took a look at these lists earlier on when this came out, and I've been playing into Odium for a while. My boyfriend also plays a lot of Odium, so I've been facing him under it, and it's a powerful deck. So you know it is going to show results. And also, if Levadress and Raziel brick, Odium has a party into those decks because Odium doesn't really brick. Next we have Korea. So this is in set 6 format. So they had 3 Raziel, 2 Levadress, 1 Messiah, 1 Roro, 1 Chronojet. Messiah and Roro being like some of the newer stuff. Messiah is very powerful, and Roro is a little bit of a new beast in the waters. It's been kind of showing a couple results here and there. There might be some really good sauce behind it. I haven't actually tested this deck yet, but it's on my radar. It's coming up, so it is definitely something I'm looking into. And then if we finished off with Raziel, Levadress, Raziel, Messiah. Messiah is an interesting one. I've been hearing so many good things about it and so many bad things. Some people are like, oh, this deck's insane, and some people are like, it's kind of mid. I've been seeing it kind of all over the place on a tier list, so I'll have to test for myself to see how I feel of where it stands. I can't see it being bad though. Let's also take a look at EU standards. They had 4 love address, 2 bats, 2 Raziel, 2 Shiranui, 2 Odium, 1 Alpodia, 1 Shodoji, 1 Prison, 1 Ava, and then their top 8 was a breakdown of 2 of everything basically, and then top 8 was a bunch of bats. The bats made it through on this end, which is very interesting to see because bat hasn't been converting super well past top 8, but it did convert here. The 2 that got in top 8 did get passed through, and then we have second place was Raziel, third place was Remain. Congrats to everybody for that. We do have Rosemont, which just happened this past weekend. I was physically here at this event. I ended up being X2. My 2 losses was Al Calibra and a mirror. I broke into the mirror and I went second to Al Calibra and just got my face slammed in. So I just ended up 66. It was just at that point, it was literally just by tiebreakers, and I just basically got to play slower, even though I finished those next 2. It was okay. I'm not too mad. It was just brutal variance. But anyway, this event had basically a bunch of everything, I would say. I didn't really see anything too unusual. It was kind of just the staples, and Al Calibra made it through for top 32. I believe there was a DQ in top 32, which made Al Calibra go to play in, but I don't remember exactly. I wasn't like around the entire time once top cut started. But anyway, 10 love address, 8 Raziel, 6 Odium, 4 bats, 2 Varga, 1 Shiranui, 1 Al Calibra, and then converted over in top 16 with 5 Levy, 5 Raziel, 2 Odium, 2 bats, 1 Shiranui, 1 Al Calibra, and then that converted into this. Al Calibra died here for 4 love address, 1 Odium, 1 Raziel, and 1 Al Calibra, 1 bat deck, and 1 Shiranui. And some of the bat decks died off in this one, along with a couple Raziels, and 1 Levy died off here. And then we finished it off with love address taking it all. Second place was Odium, third place was bat, and fourth place was love address again. And I believe the bat deck was running pure aggro, no heals at all. So very interesting build there. They just went for pure aggression with that variant. Deck's very fast, but yeah, overall, like I said, just the stuff we can be kind of seeing. Premium, I also was part of Premium, and this was the first format that had crest legal, but also for Harry and Night Rose, but also had the that reminds me, the Stridex were also legal for standard. We didn't see much of that either, just something you had to keep in mind. But anyway, the crest were legal, but also Ghidorah is at 4. This is a very unique BCS because we're not going to see this again. As of literally this past Monday, Ghidorah went to 2, but crests are still 100% at peak power, so it's good. We're going into a different format, basically starting Monday. But even this Rosemont format was actually very unique because it had the crest decks and it had bugs, so it was kind of like a unique one going in. But anyway, if you don't know what crest decks are, they're basically decks that run the standard crest in Premium, and basically they get all the power of all the flips and all the G guarding and all the beautiful powers. And also, this is the first time we had an Excel deck with a crest deck, and it's absolutely insane. I also took a crest deck because they're just that broken. This is coming from someone who just got back into the format and just started testing the week of, and I also got sick on top of that, so I didn't have much time to test because I wasn't feeling well. I was also working between all of it, so even with that, I took like a semi-decent deck and I actually performed pretty well under it. It just showcases how powerful it is. Harry almost holds your hand. It is insane how strong that deck is. But anyway, this is the breakdown. We had 7 Nubatama, 5 Pale Moon, 5 Grand Blue, 4 Bugs, 2 Narukami, 2 Neo Nectar, 1 Dimension Police, 1 Gear Chronicle, 1 Link Joker, Genesis, Golds, Great Nature, and Angel Feather. Now, something to keep in mind, the Narukami stuff, I actually faced one of the guys in testing the day before who was building a deck to beat crest decks, and basically he was playing Superior Ride Engine along with a couple other stuff to kind of deal with Excel, which was mainly Harry. He was concerned about Harry, so he kind of focused his deck towards Harry. Rose doesn't care as much, but Harry did care, and I will say I got my teeth smashed in when I faced into him. I don't know about the other guy, but the first guy I faced definitely figured out a way to just beat my skull in and not be able to win any of the matches we played. Top 16 looked like this, just basically kind of the same, but just less. We lost a couple decks here, and then top 8 looked like this with a bunch of Harry. 1 Grand Blue made it through, Nubatama, Dimension Police, which is my friend Dan. Dan made it in with Dimension Police. He's very happy about it. Bugs, and then Gear Chronicle for that, and then we finished it off with Kevin Cho, who I was actually around his area, like we were kind of circling around each other for a little bit at the tables. We even took a picture together for the jokes because we were all sitting next to each other. But he won it all. I sat next to him when he was playing, and he was playing the deck so optimally that I kind of like, I think I even said so around 5. I was like, I'm pretty sure you're winning this all. It was kind of funny because it was me, him, Fuzzy, and Ty Smith that were all next to each other, and we're all like relatively known within the community, so it's kind of funny we're all sitting next to each other. And then the other side was like people that were, you know, just normal people, right? And I was joking saying like, oh, like Kevin's like insane, like he's like, I wasn't even joking, honestly, I was being honest. So I do think he's insane. I was was even saying, I was like, yeah, you're facing an insane player right now. We have an insane player, a content creator, a website creator, and a memer all on the same side, all on one side of the table. So it's just a really funny joke. But Kevin ended up winning everything. I'm not surprised. He definitely spent the time testing on this deck. Basically, it was a list that was focused to beat bugs. This list is focused on bugs meta, so I will say his list in particular was built for bugs, which means going forward, Harry lists are going to change. All Harry lists are going to change. I built my list to think about bugs in retrospect as well. I didn't build it as creatively because they were running the doll engine, and the doll engine really helps with certain matchup with specifically bugs, because it lets you restand your dolls without actually having to put much work into it while bugs is stunning them. It's a really easy out into bugs if you play the doll engine. That's basically what happened here. But second place with Zephyr, and that's really exciting because he really wanted this top. I know for sure he did, because I saw him in Houston as well, and he just barely did make it in. He was right next to me when I was placed 17th, and he was placed, I believe, 18th. So we were kind of just in the waiting room for the top cut if we had a chance to get in. And he was playing Nubatama Crest, another very powerful deck. Noticing, by the way, this top 4 is all Crest. Third place is Danny. I actually lost to Danny when I was X1, and I went into X2 because I went second into him and I whipped Crest and he found Crest. So it's just a really bad matchup. I could have probably played it better in retrospective. I could have not swung, and at that point I was already kind of like mentally out of it. I gave him the damage, and which led him to column bar and all this other stuff, and I was like, man, I think I just lose here. Like, I was already kind of, my mental state was already like, I lost the dice roll and I didn't find Crest. He won the dice roll and found Crest. The game was already kind of over, but I probably could have tried a little bit harder and I didn't. But he was my losses, and he played Rose Harry really well. And fourth played a Vexkin, which also was running Crest Harry. Surprise, surprise. All very powerful decks. These decks are absolutely insane. They are, Nubatama has been good because it's really good into bugs. I do think Nubatama falls, but I will say Crest and Rose are, Crest Harry and Crest Rose are absolutely monsters. Anyway, the TLDR is these decks are really strong. They really escalate your game plan, and I think they're extremely consistent too. I originally thought these decks might be a little bit bricky, but no, they are not bricky. Let's go take a look at these deck logs real quick so I can break down to you guys sort of what's been going on here and with some of these decks, especially with the premium stuff. I think the premium stuff is definitely the big shift. Or just keep in mind, especially with Harry, Rose doesn't change much, but I think Harry's going to change a lot. So if you're trying to copy this list, I don't think you should be. I think these lists are going to change. So this is Kevin Cho's list. He's running the doll engine. Basically, this Leslie can restand herself over and over because the Alice can go into soul. And basically what happens there is that since it's going into soul and it doesn't care about bugs because it can still go into soul, just can't come out, what happens is these will keep restanding, so you can keep multi-attacking with these cards. It's a very it's purely meant to deal with bugs. And then we have the Toge here to grab our grade 3. Ideally you want this card. This card's absolutely insane. It's a Denial Griffin in the deck. It's really broken. It's very powerful. Be on the lookout for it. But that's basically this. He kept to the stands, which makes sense because these stands are absolutely broken. They can be put from soul from anywhere and their effects will proc. Then we have Caliburn just for the draw, counter charge, whatever you want to use it for, it's good. And then last but not least, the best card in here, in my opinion, is actually this is the Jacqueline card. This card is absolutely nuts. It was a card that I didn't have a chance to test myself, but I wanted to. It was on my radar. This card is so insanely good in this deck. The Soulvice top 7 to grab any 2 units, 1 to hand, 1 to soul, is so broken because you basically set up what you need and then you just go for the beatdown and you just have your whole soul set up and you basically want to you just play the game. You basically just play the game. This card is cracked. You would think that because it's a Vanguard card that you're not going to access it, but trust me, you'll find it. It's surprising enough you'll find it. I spent all week this week basically on this card now that I have the time to test it, and this is absolutely a nasty addition to the deck. But yeah, this deck's very powerful. I will say if this deck missed Crest, it's very rough for you, and you just have to accept that that's just how this deck is. Rose isn't like this, but Harry is. Something I will just caveat right now. If you miss Crest, it's a very uphill battle. One thing I want to add is this bunny. I thought I was crazy for putting this bunny to 4, and then I tested more and I was like, no, this has to stay at 4. This card is disgusting. It's so good. It just reads so simple. You just grab a grade 3, but guess what? The fact that you can grab grade 3s from drop means you can recycle your Harrys over and over again. And also this counts for strides, so in case you need a grade 3 and you really don't want to touch the ones in your hand, you can also use it as discard fodder, which does matter. You can't use it under the history collection stride, but you can use it for the next stride you're going to go into. And this is just a very powerful card. Its only downside is the fact that it's a 5k, which is what a lot of this deck's weakness is. This deck's weakness is the fact that it doesn't have that much shield, which is why I think the Narcomi matchup could be kind of rough if they're stunned. If they go into exterminate with the 40k front and you have 2 excels on the board, it can be pretty rough. I will not lie. This is a 5k. 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 You start to see this is a 5k. This is a 5k. You're seeing you had a grade 3 with no shield on it. We got the Alice with no shield. We got the Nile Griffin, but you draw so much of your deck that it kind of just doesn't matter. So yeah, very powerful deck. G Zone is basically a pretty pretty standard G zone. We'll say the G zone probably won't be changing around as much as you decide to build your crest decks, but this one in particular, they kind of kept it pretty simple. Also, adding this is pretty good. This card plays around Hanoi, which is a very, very powerful. So if your opponent has in battle phase abilities, this is the best card to go into after a Dark Lord Princess turn to basically shut off the Hanoi. Big fan of this. I also was testing this card myself. It's really, really good. So yeah, definitely a card to keep in your deck. Also, it's just pretty. It's a really pretty card. But yeah, that's basically that's that. Let's go look at Rose real quick. I have so much to talk about Rose. It's not even funny because that deck is just absolutely another insane deck. That deck has such a easier time getting to crest. It's not even funny. So let's go check out. I don't know what the difference is like versus this deck versus maybe mine, but we'll take a look at it here. So far, I'm seeing it to be exactly what I expect it to be. So there's a little bit of differences, and I'll talk about them here real quick. So this is Crest Rose. Ideally, you just play the 3-1 split. That you'll be, fun fact about these stride, the stride cards, they actually find any rose, so they can find you the V rose, which you can then use to discard, which is very impactful. But sometimes you just can't find her, and you're forced to Obadiah because of that. And you can actually skip Obadiah if you happen to find your copies fast enough. Pretty broken if you ask me. But the next thing, basically, this deck is forced to play this at 4, which I'm not a big fan of, but it's okay. You have to kind of cut back on the engine of denial griffining and kind of go more into an engine of killing your opponent, which is still fine because you have the fronts now. You'll get there. You can kill your opponent on second stride so easily now. I feel like Grand Blue couldn't do this before. Grand Blue can definitely kill on second stride. You can sometimes just skip Obadiah, just go straight to that bounty and just kill your opponent. You don't even need the perfect drop zone for it. You just do it. This deck, it fundamentally hasn't changed too much. It's really just the fact that you're now playing into a crest game plan, and you now have insanely good multi-attack. This deck multi-attacks and has such beautiful multi-attacks. You'll notice that Danny was running the King Serpent. It's really small, but it's basically a soul charge counter charger. It's not once per turn, so you can keep doing it over and over again. This lets you combo like crazy off of all your effects. You're basically gonna go Night Storm, Beatrice, as King Serpent, and then this Grade 2 over and over again, Franchi, and then in between that maybe call a Skull Dragon. You don't even need the Skull Dragon anymore. That's how insanely powerful this deck got. Like the fact that you don't need this card anymore, you only run it just for the bugs matchup. You still need to ride it into bugs, like, but realistically speaking, you don't even need this card anymore. You can actually cut it if you really want to. Everything is now a Skull Dragon. I think that's the biggest thing to take away from this, is just how powerful this deck got in terms of upgrades. Now I will say, I personally have been changing my ratios with the triggers around. I think though Danny was kind of keeping in mind of the fact that Ghidorah is still in meta at 4, so you actually really want to run these. But ideally, the Banshee Chris, the 5k ones, the ones that go into Stone Draw Your card, are actually better in this scenario. But that's why you'll notice he was playing King Serpent to help refill that soul. So he ran the Serpent and then ran the Stride Chris, because if you're facing bugs, you have to ride. You don't have the many grade 3 targets. You can only ride Rose, but you can also forcefully whiff Crest. You can do a bunch of different things. So he went for these just to kind of keep it that. He also might have just kept it that way just for the 10k triggers. You know, they're still better in the retrospective things. They are still the better defensive option. So, and also just better shield, better everything. But if you're really looking to find Crest, the Banshee ones are better because they go to still draw your card. You can pass turn on going first, draw up a bunch of cards, and help you can G-assist into Crest either way. It's easier to find Crest under Rose than it is under Harry, just because of that aspect alone. G-Zone looks pretty accurate. He is running the Obadiah card, one of the OB. This is fine. You can actually get away with one. It does flip, and it's basically free. It has no counterblast on it, so you just get a bunch of stuff for free off of it. It's not a bad card to run. Everything else is pretty standard. He's running the Mr. Cooking Stride. He chose not to run Megiddo. That's perfectly fine. You really don't need Megiddo. I think Megiddo's been out for a while. You also don't need the GP8 card. The GP8 Stride, I think, is like kind of bad now. I see some lists still running, like you really just don't need it anymore. It's just not a useful card. You'll notice he's running 3 bad bounties. It's a very, very accurate to run 3 bad bounties. Like I said, you can skip OB and go straight into bad bounty. That's how powerful this deck is, and you can end game with Bartholomew. Bartholomew will close out as long as your opponent doesn't check OT, because realistically speaking, this is a triple guard restrict under Crest power. It's absolutely insane. You're not living this turn. So that's basically the list. This deck is very powerful. I'm actually really happy about it, because I like the fact that I can play this deck and I can find my Night Rose now and not cry about it, because I was playing least favorite part about this deck. Go over to standard real quick and just look at a couple lists there. I want to check out some of these bat lists I've been topping, so let's go take a look at them. All right, so here is the Bat deck. So this is Bat. Now this one was pretty funny because they ran absolutely no heals in this deck. This was a pure front engine machine with crits. and just pure aggro. They just went full on in on the aggro aspect and with just basically the monsters. They're still running PGs, which I thought was really interesting considering how aggressive they were going, but I can understand that they wanted at least some kind of shield, because I will say the no PG list is kind of rough if you get like blasted early by like an OT or something. But this is basically Bat. You know, I would say overall this is pretty standard. It's got the penguins in it, so that's pretty good. Otherwise, I would say it's a pretty good list. I do like the aggression that they built with behind it, so I do enjoy that about it. So this one's the PG list. So this one's pure PGs, no PGs here, just Techion and just going for the full find your orders and just play the game. I'm noticing they are running this. I'm a big fan of the In Darkness Nobody Knows. It's just another order to find that isn't the, you know, the other ones. Sometimes you randomly whiff and it can be kind of hurt you. So I also like for these at 3, because these cards do kind of help you to set up, and when you lose one of these cards, it kind of hurts you a lot too, because it's a research card and you really want your researches in the order zone for the effects of your grade 2. So overall, another very aggro list. They are running some heals. They cut back a little bit. They cut back on one, but they're still running heals. And there's also one more list. I know I'm looking at a bunch of bad decks, but I'm really curious about them. List. So this one's also running the PGs. Wilson kept it very simple with the orders, just 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. So very simple list. They're running the Mo Flash at 4, which I highly agree with. It does suck having to cut back the grade 2, but I do think it's just really important to see this card first and then just kind of play the game to your best abilities, having the one less persona, which makes sense. And I did want to see like another list to kind of showcase you guys that isn't just the standard Raziel, Levadress, Odium list, but in all honesty, I'm looking, it really just has been Odium, Levadress, and Raziel topping for the last couple events. There actually legitimately is no other list that have been topping. There's a Luard list. We can quickly take a look at that one, but that's really it. Here is Luard. I think Luard's very powerful. The double maple is really cool. This is a very simple list, and trust me, it does what it does best. Simplicity goes so far. Sometimes you don't need all the crazy stuff. So I actually really vouch behind this deck. I actually think this deck's good. It's not the best deck in the format by any means. It definitely has some weaknesses, but I actually do think this deck can perform it, and I do think this is a deck to be on the lookout for. I think this deck's very powerful. I think the right person on the right hands make this deck look insane. So that's basically Luard. That's everything I have to talk about today. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Hope it was in depth. I know I went a little bit on premium more because premium actually had a bit of a shift in meta. Because I had a shift in meta, I had more to say. 50 cards on shop, code orange if you need anything. If you're looking for cards or anything, we do have set 6 coming around the corner, so feel free to look at that. As always, congratulations to everybody that won, and hope you guys had a great time at the BCS events. I had a blast at Rosemont, and I can't wait for Tampa. Tampa's coming up next. So on that, guys, 50 cards on shop, code orange if you need goodies. Peace out. That's Vidania, and I'll see you guys in a future video. Bye.